Mass Effect Andromeda is the newest in the Mass Effect series from BioWare. Mass Effect has always been a series that's been near and dear to my rear. I loved 1, 2, and most of 3. As like most people, I was disappointed with the insufferably shitty, slipshod, slapdash, abhorrent, repugnant, revolting, repulsive, poopy, fucking abysmal ending to the Mass Effect 3. Which really soured the whole series for me. But I still went into this game with an open mind and erect nipples, and I didn't really have too many expectations for the game, and yet I was still disappointed and let down by it. And after nearly 34 hours, I've finally beaten the game and would like to give a review.
More remnant bots. These ones don't seem hostile.
This will be graded on a scale of moisture, pretty standard issue stuff. Most school systems use them, and this will be no different. So our moisture meter goes from 0% to 100%. 100% reaches absolute moisture. As with most things in life, the moister the better. Anything below 100% shows that there's some elements of dryness, some things that could have been improved. So now that we've gone over the scale, let's dive right into this shit. Let's go ahead and start talking about the presentation. This is the best thing about Andromeda. Some of the planets look absolutely beautiful. There's some moments of genuinely inspiring bliss. Seeing ancient technology come to life, looking at all of these foreign alien environments, it all just looks very, very nice. However, the same can't be said for the characters. The characters look like dog shit. I know I'm the millionth person to talk about this, but the facial animations are just absolutely terrible. They don't look human at all. They don't convey any emotions. They're like rock'em sock'em robots with some faces painted on them. They're very stiff. It's like right out of the PlayStation 1 era. Lip syncing is just not even present in this game. It's like a badly dubbed Jackie Chan movie. This is by far Mass Effect Andromeda's biggest weak point. It's just a very odd feeling, because it really seems like BioWare just didn't bio-care this time around, because in the other Mass Effects, the characters really did seem believable. They conveyed emotion. You can kind of feel what the character was feeling just based on how they reacted to what you say, etc. Here, you don't know what the fuck they're feeling, or even if they're feeling. Now, I know that complaint about the characters not being believable as if they actually exist makes me sound like a big fucking loser, like some type of anime body pillow loving person who thinks it has a soul, but in a series that prides itself on making the player feel like they're making important decisions that actually affect lives and actually makes the player think, it's really off-putting to have the characters be like fucking sock puppets where they don't have any type of discernible emotions. You don't really feel bad for them, and you don't feel good for them either. You just feel neutral. Now, apart from the characters, the game runs smoothly. Everything looks really good in terms of the environment and the spaceships and just pretty much everything in this galaxy. It all looks good. The map, the galaxy map, it's fucking beautiful. Definitely the best of the series. Could really just get lost in it and exploring a lot of different planets, which is a lot of fun. Now let's talk about the story. This story is going to feel very familiar to anyone that played Mass Effect 1. You find some ancient technology, you also find a new alien threat that wants to destroy the galaxy. That's basically what it boils down to. This remnant technology, the whole remnants, very similar to the Prometheans. You're very special and can use the technology and learn about them. That's the main story in a nutshell, and you have to stop the people from destroying the galaxy. The side stories are just completely fucking useless. They don't make any real impact on the overall game or any impact in any regard whatsoever. I might as well have just become a plumber and started fixing shit on the Nexus, which is this game's equivalent to the Citadel, because no one cared about any of my side stories. Even the characters I did them for didn't really acknowledge anything I did. There was just no point to doing them that I found. Some of them were cool, a lot of them were tedious, especially a particular Krogan mission. It was probably the longest, most boring, most uninteresting story I've ever done in the Mass Effect series. I pretty much just wandered around a barren desert for an hour and a half looking for car keys. It was just absolutely pointless. Now, although the main story is familiar, it's not bad. It's delivered nicely. It's just very predictable, and you're gonna know what's gonna happen before it does and how the game ends, really. The writing in the game is just all over the place. Sometimes there's some really good moments, some really good lines, but a lot of the time it's just really cringeworthy dialogue, and it makes me uncomfortable to listen to.
Oh, you idiot, PB. That wasn't the front door. This is.
I'll let you know.
Hey!
especially coming from these emotionless husks of characters. At no point do any of the conversations in this game feel like they mean anything. For instance, there's a lot of political disputes among the higher-ups on the Nexus, but it basically boils down to, I don't agree with that, I don't like that. Oh, well, thank you for your concern. Now that I know you don't like that, I acknowledge it. Thank you for acknowledging it, let's move on. And then it never leads to anything, it's just, I don't like it. Okay, I get that. Alright, thank you for understanding. And then the story just progresses, nothing fucking evolves from it. And then the conversations with Ryder and all the other characters, it doesn't matter what options you choose from the very limited amount of options you have, the conversation's gonna still end up the same. If you're extremely rude to someone, they'll be like, well, that was rude, but I forgive you, and we'll still bang. The Paragon and Renegade system from the previous games is completely gone, and I know that was a very basic system, but the system they have in here now where you just have a lot of different dialogue choices, it just boils down to, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to be mean, doesn't matter which one I am, because we're still going to get the same result. At least in the previous 3 games, Paragon and Renegade had some consequences, and in this game there is no consequences to pretty much anything you say and do. Voice acting for the most part was awful. Really, there was no yelling or crying or any emotions conveyed throughout this game, not even close. I can't even recall a single instance where any character yelled or even said something sad or felt sad. It was just a very stiff performance from pretty much every character in this game. Obviously, there was a few that did a pretty decent job with voicing their characters. Whoever did Drac did a good job. The Krogan really felt alive at some parts.
It's complicated, except it's not. Leaving my scouts behind was worse than killing them outright.
But overall, the lines just felt like they were read by students in a high school doing a PowerPoint presentation and reading off the slides. Now, my favorite part of this game was definitely the combat. I thought it was really well done. There was a lot of options, a lot of powers to toy around with, a lot of potential builds. They introduced a new research and crafting system, so that way you could make your favorite armor or weapons or augmentations, which would change the way your guns behaved. And it was really well done. However, the squad commands, they were just completely gone. It was just a really shitty system for commanding your squad around, not like they had in the first 3 games. It was just, it was useless. I didn't use it past the first 2 missions or so. And the squad mates overall were just pretty useless themselves. They didn't really use their powers, they didn't really fire back. They're mainly just floating pieces of exposition to follow you throughout the mission. One of the things I hated most about this game was just the lack of new discoveries, the lack of new aliens. Nothing really felt that foreign. It's all kind of like, you know, been there, done that, I've seen all this before. There's only 3 new alien races that played any role in the main story. I didn't find anything too alarming like, wow, I haven't seen that in any other Mass Effect games. The audio sounded fine, everything sounded convincing, and actually at some points just really improved the experience. Explosions sounded really fucking cool. It was like you were in the action. The soundtrack was really nothing special. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything that would really stand out to you. It's extremely forgetful. It was akin to me just banging on a garbage can lid with a boomerang, except in a much more professional and better sounding way. So in fact, nothing like me banging on a garbage can lid with any type of accessory. The point I'm making is the soundtrack isn't anything to write home about. You're not going to hear any music in here that's really just going to put your jaw on the floor. Now, I know most of the things I've said so far about this game are negative. However, that doesn't mean that my overall experience for it was negative. I had a lot of fun with the combat, and at some points I really did feel invested in the characters until that immersion was completely broken when I just got a stiff response. Yeah, thanks for saving my family, Ryder. Means a lot. I'm gonna go sleep now. Thanks. Peace out, pussy. And that was the same song and dance for every character, including the one that you romance. That was the most fucking pathetic romancing ever. But a lot of the missions were fun, and I did enjoy my time on some of the planets, and just overall playing this game, I feel like the 34 hours, I had more of a positive experience than a negative one, although I have a lot of issues with this game, especially compared to the genius of 1 and 2. But I think the thing that really holds this back is just how familiar everything is, and also how poorly executed it is, because if this was its first game in the series, if Mass Effect Andromeda was a totally different thing, there was no Mass Effect before it, I think people would give it a lot more excuses for the bad facial animations and a lot of the other technical shortcomings, but the fact that we've seen it work so well for 3 games in the past really just puts a spotlight on how little BioWare cared for this game. I bios swear they just really didn't put their heart and soul into this one. Now before I give this game a warning, I want to give everyone out there a fair warning. This is not going to be IGN level grading where anything below a 7 is considered just trash and not worth your time. This is going to be some actual rating where a 5 out of 10 is an average game, so anything above that is above average. I fucking hate how the industry has become. If it doesn't get a 7, it's not worth your time. That's just so unbelievably stupid. So I'm going to give this game about a 55% on the moisture scale. I'd give it just a little above average because it was an above average game. There's a lot of content here and you'll definitely get your money's worth for $60. But for fans of the series, it's a huge step in the wrong direction and really just a huge step backwards about